Hi, welcome to the School Community Huddle with Ana Martinez. Today we have two very special guests, experts in their field. Go ahead, special guests, introduce yourself, number of years of experience, and the various positions you've held in education.
Okay, I can start. My name is Leilani Lafarie. I am a principal currently. I'm entering my 17th year in education, and I have been a teacher, mostly in the upper grade, 4th and 5th grade. I also did some time in kindergarten and middle school, actually. And so I also am a mom. I currently have a son who is going into 3rd grade. Also within my educational career, I've been a coach, an instructional coach, and a director of instructional coaching. And yes, I have loved every moment of education, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
I love that.
My name is Katia Sanchez, and this is going to be my 7th year in education. I was a school counselor. That's how I started off. And then I was a culture and climate specialist, and now I'm an assistant principal. Similarly, I think I originally envisioned myself to be primarily at the high school level, and I started at the elementary level, and now I'm like, I see myself somewhere else, but definitely elementary has my heart. So,
yeah. So we all, if this is your first time tuning in, or it's your 3rd or 4th podcast that you're watching, I always start off with a little story. So my story is that I also started in middle school, and I started teaching in South Central Los Angeles. I love it. Like Leilani, it's my 17th year. And then I transitioned somewhere in that to elementary, and I was a principal for about 8 years in South LA. And I loved hosting huddles with my families each month. Like we called it Café con la Directora. And it was a time where I can laugh with them, learn from them, and then know how they're really experiencing the school. And so I built so many strong relationships during that time. And I also think about how my mom got so involved in our elementary school because she could, right? She didn't have to work because she was staying home to take care of all 8 of us. But at the end of the day, like, the school made her feel welcome. So that was something that was really important to me. And I was just wondering, like, you as administrators in your own school, what do you do to invite parents in the past, like when you could have them come in? What did you do to invite parents or welcome them in or make them feel at home?
I think I did a lot of the same things that you did. We have parent-principal meetings, and maybe not monthly just because we have other meetings, or in the past we didn't have them. I think Zoom has opened up a whole new world of like actually getting to talk to families in a different way, families that couldn't access meetings on campus, so that feels exciting. But one of the things that we did was we hosted parent walkthroughs. And so, for example, if we were working on something new and different, like we were trying to institute our ELD block, our English Language Development block, and I wanted parents to come and see and have an idea. So I invited them in for about a 15 to 20 minute walkthrough. We walked through 4 or 5 classrooms. We got a chance to know each other beforehand, and we talked about our experiences in school. Just to your point, Anna, about like a lot of parents saying their experiences with school, whether they were positive or negative, that influences the way they see school. And so it was actually a really lovely time. And I got a parent to say, I never actually got to really sit in the principal's office before in a positive way, and I've never actually gotten to know somebody like this. And then they, of course, appreciated the walkthroughs.
A couple of things that we've done. We have listening meetings in the beginning of the year, and I think it's probably one of the most impactful experiences. And I think the reason why I like them, and I think the parents appreciate them too, is because the goal is to acknowledge that like the parents are the experts, and they know their kids more than we do, and how important it is for us to learn from them. And then I also think, and I will say that it's something we're continuing this year. And I think this year it's even more important because now we like are working like this with families. So I think we've adjusted some of the questions to, I think before they were primarily based on learning about their child from them. But I think now it's still that, and we're adding questions to get to know the families more. So like not personal questions, but just like, let me get to know you. Like, And I think that has been, I'm looking forward to see what that looks like this year. But I definitely think just historically, it's been a very impactful experience to like listen to parents' stories and their experiences with their child. Another event is we had a recess like play date where we invited parents to come to campus to like, it actually had to, like one of the goals was to like continue building relationships with their kids. But the other one was like, give us feedback. So like from your experience of recess, because a lot of times when we were having like concerns, a lot of the concerns came from the playground. And so that's where that came from. But I definitely feel like it helped parents. It was a positive experience too for them to know, like, we want feedback from you. And this is what it looks like this is how it is. So yeah, those were my two that I'm like, I really enjoy those events and I think they do too.
Yeah, I love that. And if you're a parent listening or an administrator listening and you don't do these practices at your school, like, no worries. 3 to 5 years, I probably didn't do all of these practices in my school as well, like listening meetings or coffee with the principal that felt super relational, or like Leilani said, where they were walking through the classroom. I definitely built up to that. And if you're a parent listening and you're like, oh, that sounds cool, I want to visit my school, or I want to have a walkthrough so I can see things through the lens of a principal. A lot of the ideas that I ended up doing at the end of or like towards the middle or end of my principalship, I got from the parents. They were asking it. They were saying, hey, how about we try this? Or I got from other principal leaders. And so how do parents go about asking you if they want something new, and how do you respond to that? Especially right now when they're going into virtual learning, right? So like, hey, Miss LaFerrie or Miss Sanchez, like, how can we do this or do this? Like, how do you elicit those ideas and actually put them into practice?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that it seems like Katia was saying is that there was a response, right? Like a response to something that was happening at recess, let's say. And then, I think that's a lot of the times when I have come up with ideas. I think the parent walkthrough was a thing I really was interested in doing, but it came from also like just even structures that we have formally. Like we have to do ELAC, we have to do school site council. And then I was hearing parents just asking questions about like, if you could just see, then we could come in. So it wasn't even a formal way of feedback. It was very much like us kind of coming together and trying to figure out just what they understood well, what they still had questions about. And those actually came in a more formal setting, and then out of it came something informal. So I would say like it doesn't always have to be, it can be actually incidental where you're planting a seed, and just by parents showing up and asking questions, like you are planting a seed in an administrator's head for the most part. Katia, I'll let you go on.
Anna, your question was, can you repeat it?
Yeah, like how do parents give you feedback as an administrator if they want to see something different or new? So like, for instance, your recess, it came from maybe a concern, or did it come from a complaint? Because I know that parents are like, I don't want to complain, but then their other parents are like, no, I'm going to complain. Both of those voices are just as important, right?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, honestly, like I feel like I want feedback. So I definitely think most administrators want to hear what parents think. And so I guess my basing would be to like tell us so that we like can respond. And then I also think that, I guess this is more for us as administrators, but I think it is really helpful to have those casual spaces, because one thing I've noticed is that at Coffee with the Principal, parents feel more comfortable, so they speak up more. Whereas I've noticed that SSC or ELAC, for whatever reason, because it's a more formal structure we have to have, I don't hear their voices as much. And so I think an important thing for us to acknowledge maybe is like having those more relaxed conversational spaces with families so that they feel comfortable to tell us. But I think, I guess my the way I feel for parents is just like to let us know what your thoughts are. Like, I feel like we want to know. I want to know how to get better. So
right.
I will also add.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I will also add, I think our, the ladies in the office, and that's just a big generalization that it is ladies in the office, but the ladies and gentlemen in the office are also, like, they're the first line often that get parents. So I've also gotten a lot from my business manager and office assistant when they will hear things from parents. And so that's also where some ideas come. So it's not just, you actually, as a parent, don't always have to go to the principal. Sometimes that doesn't feel safe, potentially, but there are people on campus who, if they have that relationship with the principal, can relay messages and things, and then I'll do a follow-up. But like, that's a lot of times where things come from.
Yeah. And I just want to remind parents, like, usually we navigate schooling by our own experience. So we have, especially like in South LA where I work, there was a lot of families who had immigrant status, or families that were there for generations and just didn't have positive schooling experience. So they weren't getting involved, or they already were upset or not trusting of the school community. But I want to remind parents that public schools are there to serve you. Even private schools, right? They're there to serve you. If this was a business, you're their customer, and they want to make sure you're happy. Now, I think parents get intimidated, like, well, I don't have the experience, I don't have the credentials, but you, like Ms. Sanchez said, like, you are an expert in your own child, so they want to hear it. And if you're getting a lot of pushback from the school, one, find out who else you can talk to in that school community that you can have a good relationship with, or get other parents that you can say, hey, are you having this experience? How can we make this a positive and constructive next step for the school? And then lastly, if you're just not getting listened to, then think about like what other school options you have for you or your child. And I would say that's the last resort, but for sure try various things. But I love the idea of partnering with the school and looking at what the school has to offer already, because I'm sure they all have something amazing to offer. So thank you all for being here today. If you're an educator, a parent, I hope you got something from this today. It's just to help. It's just a resource. If you're doing all of it or none of it, it's not a judgment. Remember, you are enough. And if you have any questions or you want to hear more, please put it in in the questions in the YouTube, or reach out to me on Ana Martinez _410 and tell me what you want us to talk about so that we are helping you help your child better. So thank you, Leilani, and thank you, Katia, for being here today.
Thank you, Ana.